Hello, how are we?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing well, mate. Thank you for being here today. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have this you guys on the channel for the longest time. I've been a fan for
Oh,
years, and never did I think you guys were
cool.
going to do the big Australian tour down here. So congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't think it was going to happen either, but I'm very happy about that.
Now, I did have a quick look. You were down here 10 years ago, I think it was 2015 in
Yeah,
Melbourne. Like, how'd that all come about? Because I completely missed that. That was off my radar.
that was part we did. I think that was around. We did a show in Japan. I believe it was the Loud
Hmm.
Park show, and then we had like maybe Taiwan and Hong Kong on the way down, and then we did Melbourne, and I think that was a four-show run that took 10 days because it was such a long
Yeah.
distance. But I think that was part. It was just to try it out, seeing as we never had been to Australia before. I think we wanted to try it, and I believe also that we wanted to do more shows than one, but the promoter said no, let's just do one and see what happens. We also have never really had any good connections that
Hmm.
we our booking agents is German, and they didn't have anybody that they worked regularly with in Australia, so that's the only reason we haven't been visiting for we have been existing for almost 30 years now, but that is the main reason. It's not never been a priority because we didn't have the right connections.
Yeah, and well, I guess if you did, I don't know what you said at the end of the concert, but if you said Australia, we will be back, you definitely kept us on the waiting game. But you are back for a full tour in January this year.
uh,
I'm assuming
yes.
in your Melbourne tour, you didn't really get to see any of Australia. It sounded like you just flew in, did the show, and flew out. Are you
Yeah.
going to try and soak up a bit of that Aussie atmosphere when you're here this time?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I absolutely I want to do that. Last time I believe we had a day or half a day or something. I think I went to the Melbourne Zoo that
Mm.
day, just to have something to do. I don't know what the other guys did, but that was not enough. We need more. So apparently it's five cities, I think, and it's kind of like the coastline like this, and that's going to be interesting because I'm sure that the northwestern cities are not the same as the southeastern cities. I'm sure that there's a big difference.
Oh, it's completely different because I've traveled around going to a lot of Australian gigs myself, and the crowds are like the crowd in Brisbane is different to a crowd in Sydney, where I'm from, completely
Yeah.
different to Melbourne, and then Perth because Perth don't get a lot of bands go out there. They are absolutely nuts. You're going to kind of get blown away. It's going to feel like your own mini festival inside these venues.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. It's Australia is it's because it's not England or UK and it's not the US, but it's in the same, like we feel very comfortable with the language and the atmosphere, and I like that people are so upbeat in
Mm.
Australia. I mean, not everybody, but the general. When you talk to people and whatever you see online and stuff, people seem to be very um, happy. And maybe not everybody is happy, but they project the attitude of it anyway.
That's what we
Uh,
try. And you're coming down here in January as well, which is like the best time of year to visit Australia because Australia is known for two things. We can drink
yeah.
beer and we've got amazing beaches. So if you like either of those two things, you're going to have a good time down here. That's why we're happy all the time, mate, at the end of the day. There's nothing to be
Yeah,
sad
yeah,
about.
exactly. I'm sure that's a very big part of the reason because we both all love beer and the beaches, so we're gonna have a good time, I'm sure.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. It's definitely going to be a atmosphere because I saw you in Vakken last year in
Right.
all that mud. So that was a lot of fun. But one thing I did notice with you guys, if you got such a powerful, well punching together sound that's just kind of so tight over these years, like what can people expect from a HammerFall show compared to a festival show? Because I know a lot of Aussies have been able to go to Vakken, but maybe not see you in an indoor venue. How do you bring that energy?
Well, these are quite different.
Mm,
Performing for a festival crowd that is, whatever thousand people there. That means it's always a big distance from the stage to the first row of the audience. And that can sometimes be, I mean, you don't have that connection with them then in that case. You can see them, but you can't feel them in the same way. Whereas a club show, you're, right close to each other. maybe only a meter or so, depending on the size of the stage and everything. But I like that atmosphere a lot because, from my point of view, a heavy metal show is not just a band performing.
Mm.
A heavy metal show is everybody getting involved. People, shouting, singing along, fists in the air, all that stuff, because that gives us energy. We feed off of that, and I'm sure that when we give the energy back to people, they feed off of what we're producing on stage too. So for me, heavy metal show is just. I always say it's one big heavy metal party. When
Yeah.
we play, that's how I usually promote HammerFall shows, because that is, to me, that is the what a heavy metal show is all about. The
Mm.
giving and taking, the interaction between people, between us and the audience, and you don't really get that at a festival in the same way. I mean, you can, of course, but it's not as intimate as the club shows. And right now, I guess this is just because we have done a lot of festivals over the summer, but right now I prefer the club shows. Because we haven't done that in a while.
And you don't need to worry about the rain or if it's a million degrees
No,
outside either. So that's a nice little part too.
exactly.
And I like that too. Being a ginger man who's also blonde like yourself, the sun is not always my friend. And I live in Australia, so
No,
it's a bit dangerous.
yeah, yeah, I can imagine that.
But congratulations as well on the brand new album. 13 albums out now in 30 years as a band. That's impressive. Not a lot of bands can say they've
Thank
reached
you.
that number. Like, what keeps you driving? Because the album just sounds as fresh as they did 20 years ago, if not more refined. Like, I don't know. Walk me through like how you kind of keep that enthusiasm and energy when it comes to making new music.
Well, that's I think that I've always been quite youthful
Mm,
in my approach to everything, to life, and being. I mean, it wasn't great when you were 25 and you were still a teenager at heart, and you were immature and all that stuff. But it's also helped me, I think, because the thing is, I am who I am. I'm
yep.
never going to change. That's just who I am. It's always been that way, and that is the reason Hammerfall exists in the first place, anyway. So
Mm,
all these things have to play a part. And for me, just the love of the actual music is the very reason we started the band in the first place. That love has never waned, and that love has never faltered at all. For me, if anything, the love of heavy metal music has grown much stronger. Maybe not for other bands, but for Hammerfall, for what we do, that my love for that and my devotion to creating heavy metal music is stronger than it ever has been. And I think that has to do with the fact that we came from the origins of Hammerfall was during a time when nobody really cared about this type of music.
mm,
And the only guys who were playing it was us and a few more, but nobody did it for anything other than fun. You loved this stuff. That's why you did it. You didn't do it because you thought there was a career in it somewhere. And I think that passion, because if you do it for those reasons, then you have a strong passion for it, and that passion is still here.
yeah.
There's no greater feeling. Well, few comparable feelings, but one feeling that is really really great is when you write a song, you complete it, and yes, this is another good one. Like this is
Yeah.
because the thing is, I don't write music for anybody else other than Hammerfall. I write music for myself to please myself, because that has been the idea since the beginning. Because I didn't expect this to please anybody else,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
this was never the point. So when it turned out that people seem to be happy with what we're doing and being into it, especially in Germany, that's where we got the first big break. Then this attitude has never changed, because
Yeah.
I knew that this could be gone in any second. And if I'm not happy if I write a song for anybody else, if they don't like it, I'm going to be devastated. If I
Yeah.
write a song for myself, I know I'm going to like it. I'm never going to be devastated. That's kind of how I look at it.
And that's a good way of doing it too, because you brought up something. I was just thinking why you brought that up, because you guys started in the 90s, which was pretty rough time for metal bands in general. You had grunge come in and everything changed. New metal came in. You had bands like Metallica, even Slayer. They started changing their sound to kind of
Yeah,
go with the flow, because it almost seemed like the years of the guitar solo were almost dead.
yeah.
Um,
Even Priest did that,
yeah,
which is Uh, I mean,
Hey,
I don't hate the albums. I love the albums, but they also did exactly that. There's no guitar solos on Jagulator,
yeah,
almost none. Terrible.
it's kind of crazy to think that the style at the time had such an influence, and you starting during that time as well. Like you mentioned, you did it for yourself because you couldn't do it to be like, oh, I'm going to make a career out of this music because no one was really making any sort of career. I think the only band that came up new from the old style in the 90s was Pantera. They were the only ones still kind of playing the guitar solos being brand new. So I guess it was a bit of a grind to get to where you are now, but I guess you're pretty happy that you stuck with that grind because, I mean, look at what HammerFall is.
Yeah, I mean that is just the way that I am, the way that we are. Uh, we find something that we enjoy. I'm very bad at letting go of things. Like
Mm.
I have too many things that I should stuff, that I should have gotten rid of ages ago. I just can't bring myself to throw them out. But it's the same thing with if I love something, if I have a connection to it, that will usually never go away.
Mm.
That doesn't diminish with time. And I'm a big fan of nostalgia too. So even just the smallest thing reminds me of a time. The time may not have been great,
Yeah.
but you have a way of dissecting. I mean, sorry, of sort of getting rid of all the bad memories somehow.
Mm.
My brain is worked that way. The bad memories just don't matter because they're here somewhere. It wasn't great, but the good memories are very clear, very strong,
Yeah.
and that's what you focus on. And I think this has a lot to do with, for me at least, heavy metal. Going back to the metal stuff, I mean, I grew up with this. This is my
Mm.
childhood, and it was from, I'd say, age 10, maybe 11, so
Yeah.
something like that. That's when I started to realize, okay, this is heavy metal is something, not just a song here or music there or an album, whatever. It's actually a movement or whatever it was. Um, from that point on, this has been the main component of my life.
Yeah.
That's been everything, and I'm over 50 years old now, so it's quite a lot of time, is what I'm trying to say. Uh, so if I love something, it's never going to change. That's the way it is.
And that's the way it should be at the end of the day too. But it's funny that you mentioned 50. How's it kind of playing a live show in your 20s compared to now? Do you still have that same energy, but maybe the old back's a little tight some days, so the running around's not as crazy? Or what's the difference in your approach
uh,
these days?
yeah, it's what I've learned over the years, and it's took me many decades to learn, is to pace myself a little bit.
Mm.
It's I've learned, and this is actually something I've learned over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years, maybe, if that even.
Yeah.
Just to, I mean, you can go all out. You can save also 20%. The 80 is almost to 100. If you go 80%, it's gonna feel and sound and be the same, but you still have 20% left because you need that because you don't blow yourself up. You
Yeah.
don't just expend all your energy. That's like a race. If you're
Yeah.
running a marathon or whatever kind of race it is, if you blow yourself up in the first minute, unless it's 100 meters
Yeah.
dash, of course, but if you blow yourself up in the beginning of the race, you won't have any energy for the rest. And I learned that very a lot. I also got, I mean, I work out, not, mostly cardio, but I do that a lot, 5 days a week, just to be, because this I also found out the hard way once. I think it was about 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I remember we had a long break, long layoff. And I thought, I mean, I was young. I thought in my head, I was young, still as young as I always have been. I can just go out there and do it. And then I didn't work out. I mean, I practiced on the guitar, but I didn't work out my cardio at all.
Yeah.
And then we did this show, and I remember thinking afterwards, because when I was so tired, I couldn't concentrate on playing, so I played really bad because my
Yeah.
focus was I couldn't do both basically. I tried to, but I blew myself up, and that I decided right then, this is never happening again ever. So since then I've started to I incorporated for my pre-tour ritual. I mean, I always worked out a little bit, but I stepped up the workouts, the cardio workouts before a tour because I didn't want that to happen again. And now I'm on a good level since years, that I have to keep it up, but I don't have to do anything special before a tour anymore because I do what I always done anyway.
I was going to ask, and you've probably already answered the question by saying that as well, but coming back from, and we won't touch on it too much because we all know what happened in 2020 with COVID, but getting back, when you finally did your first shows back with HammerFall, what was that feeling like? And did you feel you were physically ready? Because I know I myself
Yeah.
got pretty unfit during COVID. It took a while to get it back.
Yeah, I think a lot of us had a dip in the fitness thing there. I'm the thing is, I stopped going to the gym really early because
Mm,
my girlfriend has autoimmune disease that was with the lungs. So if she got COVID, it could be really really bad right away.
yep.
So we just said, there was no isolation in Sweden, but we did it anyway. But I'm fortunate enough to have like a cardio, what do you call the cross trainer,
Oh, yep.
at home, so I could still maintain some level of and that was actually when you couldn't do anything else. It was kind of fun to just go out and work out a little bit every day, but then I remember also we were drinking a lot more than normal, a lot more beer. But the first show that we did was in Manchester. This was in May of 2022. We started the tour we did with Halloween for a year and a half. That
Mm,
was the first show in that tour, and that was luckily only I think we played 60 or 75 minutes. I can't remember now, but it wasn't a long set anyway. I mean, 75 is long enough to get really tired, but I think that was adrenaline fueled, if anything. I mean, nothing really mattered. We haven't been able to do this for 2.5 years almost. We weren't allowed to be on stage anywhere, and now finally, the horse was out of the barn. You just, it was fairly easy to get going there. I remember, and everybody was. We have a saying. It's I don't know what the English expression is for it, but for us, in Sweden, it has to do with the calves being let out. When the calves have been in locked indoors in the barn all year, you
yep.
let them out. Yeah, that's how the Swedish saying. But I guess his horse is the same thing, and that's exactly what it was for us.
No,
Exactly.
that's amazing as well. And you didn't slow down. You came out the gates. You've had multiple albums out since pandemic. Was a lot of the writing happening during that time because you didn't really have a lot to do?
You'd think so, but no, not really. We uh, we had, let's see, yes, the plan for the previous album, Hammer of Dawn, was always for it to come out when it did anyway, and the recording was supposed to happen when it happened. So we just followed the plan. We just couldn't play live for a while, but that also had its detrimental effects on a lot of things, because I remember being we were supposed to start recording in like October, maybe November
Yep.
or January. Well, it was the winter. January was, I think. And I had one or two maybe songs left to do, and everything was great. On the summer, I did some really fun stuff. That was the best summer. 2020 was the best summer I had in a long time, because yeah, I didn't realize it, but I was really worn out from all the traveling, all the playing we've been doing.
Yep.
I got to spend an uninterrupted summer in Sweden with my family, which has virtually never happened before, basically. So it was that was a really good battery recharger for me. But then once the fall rolled around, and you thought like, because I don't remember, but at that time in the summer it was, it's going to be a couple of more months. Well, and things started looking up, and then in, let's say, October or maybe whatever it was, we just realized, oh shit, this is not going to be gone now. It's just still going to be going for an indefinite amount of time. And because you thought, all restrictions are going to be looser. Oh no, they're getting harder again. And then October, with the weather here is dark and rainy and shit. That was a difficult time. I talked to Joachim about this around that time, and we experienced the same things. He lives in Stockholm, I live in Gothenburg, so we
Yeah.
don't really get together so much. We especially didn't during the pandemic for obvious reasons. But that was really, really hard. I want to write music when I feel happy, when I feel positive and charged.
Mm.
I don't want to write music when I feel like life sucks, because it does. You can feel that life sucks sometimes. Just the problem is you can't feel it like that life sucks all the time, because then there's something wrong with it, because it goes like this. Life goes like this, as anything should do, really.
Yeah.
So October was, or that fall was difficult, and then we didn't write that much. We didn't have that much more to write, but I remember it took me a long time to write one song, just because I
Mm.
was out here for an hour or two, went back in, and nothing, and I came back in a couple of days, and not, I was trying to work, but it didn't happen. Nothing was coming because I wasn't feeling good. But once the restrictions were lifted and everything, once we started touring again, then I there was because I found a way to write music on the road now when we were touring.
Yeah.
Because I have all you need really is a computer, an interface, and a guitar. And I have this small guitar that fits in my suitcase, which I bring everywhere I go. It's like my warm-up guitar for the shows, but it's also my writing music guitar for the hotel rooms
Oh,
and
wow.
stuff. So I never go anywhere without it usually, and that has helped me a lot because then that means I can write songs when I feel inspired, when I feel like, yeah, this is a good time. Now I feel like, oh yeah, you have that creative thing
Yeah.
going, you can feel it. Uh, Instead of waiting until I get home, I can capture it. I can capture the feeling right then, instead of waiting for to work when I get home a couple of days, and then everything is going to be different. Of course, it's going to be gone. So I can sort of capitalize on that feeling, and that has led me to write a lot more songs, a lot more, maybe not finished songs, but a lot more stuff. Just session. I have ideas for a lot more than I usually have.
I never thought of it because I'm selfish. I'm a singer myself, and what you talk about is like, yeah, because I can just get my phone out now and go write the lyrics when I feel inspired. But you guys
Yeah.
don't get to do that. The guitarist,
No.
anyone, you don't get that opportunity. But the fact that you can do that, that is kind of revolutionary in a way. That's probably something you couldn't have done all those years ago. I guess the way you can
No.
record music and save music now is just light years and light years different to what it was even 10
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, you can't even compare it. Yeah, even 10 years ago, I couldn't do this on the same level that I do. The software for guitar sounds and stuff. I mean, I only need one sound,
Yeah.
like one sound distortion, and I turn the distortion down. That's all I need to write music. I don't. It doesn't have to sound studio production recording wise. That's not the thing, and it does actually sound really really good because of the software nowadays. But I remember back in the '90s when we wrote the first HammerFall songs. Back then it was 4-track. That
Yeah.
was how we did it, and I remember also, if because nowadays you have the iPhone or your phone with you, you can just, if you have an idea, a melody pops into your head, whatever, you can sing it in the phone, or play it on the guitar, whatever it is. You can really capture it like that. If it's good, you go back to it and then you do something with it. If it's not good, it's just can delete it. But back in those days, if you had a riff, okay, this riff is pretty good, then if you wanted to remember it, you had to play it until you remembered it. And if you didn't remember it the next day, you didn't play it enough, and then it was gone. That's the way it was.
Yeah.
So
It,
this way, it's much easier for us as a musician, as a
it,
songwriter.
It reminds me of that old story, that Mission Ari from their Iron Maiden B side, where Bruce Dickinson was recording Steve and Nico having a bit of a tiff, and then
Uh,
Nico found out and chased him down and tried to destroy the recorder. And Bruce was like, "Don't do it, Power Slave's on there," and he didn't have it on anything else. So Nico was wearing those big boots and it got jammed. So
yeah,
if he just stopped on it a little bit differently, we might never have ever have had Power Slave. So it's kind of crazy that things like that and evolve. Now that everything's digital, I could break my phone,
yeah,
upload it. It's
yeah,
uploaded to a cloud. It's everywhere. Like everything is everywhere
yeah,
now. So it's unreal. It really is unreal.
yeah.
But mate,
It's big difference.
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I won't keep you too long because I know you got a few more interviews tonight. But I
Sure.
do
Yeah.
want to say, what do you want to say to the Australian fans? I know some got to see you in Melbourne, but there's a lot of look. There's a lot of fans that may have only discovered you in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years that have been huge fans, dying for you to come down. They finally get this opportunity. What do you want to say to those people?
Uh, I want to say, I want to urge them to come to the show, because you never know. We haven't been there so many times in the past, and you never know if we'll ever come back. I'm not saying that because of that, but if this tour is a success, we will be back for sure. But if it's not, who knows? And if you just out of the, in general, if you want to have a heavy metal party with music that you love, or at least can stand, have a good time with people who love what they do, and drink a few beers, of course. No shoeies though. I would never do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Oh no, fuck it. No way. Not even for my own shoe.
It's not good. It's not good. I've done one.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I can see people doing it. I understand why. I that would never work for me, unfortunately. But if just beers, you want to have a couple of beers, listen to music played by people who really love what they do, and if I dare say, are pretty good at it too.
Yeah.
Join the heavy metal party in Australia in January, because I guarantee you it will be an evening or a couple of evenings that you will never forget.
You're spot on. I still remember the performance at Vakken, so he is not lying to you. He is telling you the truth. You do not want to miss it. Tickets are in the link below, so click on that and reserve your spot. Oscar, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thank you.
Likewise. I just noticed one thing. Your Majora's Mask thing is really cool there. I didn't see it earlier.
Thank you.
I was looking at the Maiden poster.
Massive fan. I've even got the moon from Majora's Mask kind of tattooed up here as
shit.
well. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Big fan.
I have a big Zelda collection.
Oh, really?
As well. Yeah. Well, not so much like statues and stuff, but games. But I do have it right over there in a couple of things. I have everything that I have get my hands on, basically, game wise. So
well, I do have one more question then. Do you have a favorite Zelda game?
I do,
Yeah.
as anybody does, I think. For the longest time, it was A Link to the Past. It was just unbeatable, I thought. And then they did A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. You know this one?
Yep.
I thought that was everything that A Link to the Past was, but more.
Yeah.
I get goosebumps just thinking. I can't wait until I get to play that again, because it was so great, that game. But then Breath of the Wild came out. I mean, they're two different. I prefer the older stuff, like because that's what I grew up with, and that's more makes me feel more comfortable. But Breath of the Wild was amazing on every level. Once you got into it, it took me a couple of tries. I tried it, got out, and then once I was in all the way. And so I have to say Breath of the Wild, but those three need to be mentioned at any time. Those three games for me.
Well, you've got a very long flight ahead of you, so you might need to break out the old Nintendo Switch or the 3DS and give it another play.
Yeah. That's a very good idea. I'm gonna save it. If I remember to bring it in January, I'm gonna save it for then.
Yeah, just put a note in your phone. All good. Thanks, man. It's been awesome. Cheers.
Yeah. Take
Bye.
care. Have a good time. See you. Bye.